just taking it a step back, like what's the vision of Masaka? Like what's the right now vision, and then what's the sort of the horizon vision, and what's the beyond the horizon vision? Because that's what we really want to start championing. And if we can kind of start to kind of support and help make those steps real towards that longer term vision. So yeah, right now, what's the vision? And then in the future, what's the vision for Masaka?
Yeah, well, the monthly, I'll just start with the monthly, because I think that's a really important point to get across, because if you rely on one-off donations, it's really hard to plan ahead.
Yeah,
and with a region like this and the issues that you've got to deal with day to day, you need to have some sort of certainty, because if you let these people down, you know, like
yeah, absolutely.
You could break them, and that's not what we're all about. We're all about providing hope. So,
and that goes back to what you said. We want to make sure that there is a legacy that's left from this, and that legacy is one of hope, not one of disappointment.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the monthlies are so important, but I'll come back to that. I'll just get onto the vision. So it's changed, obviously, and it changes quite regularly as more and more people get involved.
Yeah.
But you know, the long-term vision, or the short to long-term vision, is to get that clubhouse built and to have 8 smart trainers there, with any of our members on those smart trainers racing and training as much as they can, and as much as they're prepared to.
Yeah.
So that will just one, showcase the talent, but it'll progress their skills, and and they're hard workers, Jordan. Like, they just they know how to bury themselves. Like they know what pain is.
So for anybody who's listening who doesn't understand that term, that's not actually burying themselves.
Is that an Aussie term?
No, it's definitely a cycling term, but I suppose it could get lost. Just means just going full gas on a bike, and it just, you know, pushing yourself beyond. I'm the type of rider that when it hurts, I usually ease up a bit. But I know if I'm riding next to Jamie, for example, and he hurts, he just keeps going stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, which is what a lot of pros do. There's that famous quote by Greg LeMond that says, "It doesn't get easy, you just go faster."
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what they're like. So because their motivation levels are different to ours. Like their reasons are different.
That's amazing.
So there's huge reasons for them. And, you know, like down the track, if we can build up our monthly numbers, we'd love to get a full-time coach, in the club, working with not only the elite talent, but also, putting in talent identification programs, and, you know, nurturing the female program, the junior program, all these programs that we can put in place. But at the moment, we're just relying on some local talent, which hasn't been exposed to, you know, like modern coaching methods. It's just literally a scenario where it's just purely raw talent, and that's it, without too much science behind that. So we'd love to have that in place at some stage. And then, you know, probably the third main one is, you know, for us to become a bit of a recruiting ground for, you know, Conti teams, Pro Conti, World Tour teams even, God forbid. So, you know, we know that's a long way away, but if it develops that way, then, and more people hear this story and hear your story, Jordan, then, you know, it might not be unrealistic to think that it could be a recruiting ground. East Africa could become a recruiting ground for pro teams. So, and
I think I just to sort of like explore that a bit, we're not just talking about I know it's something that we mentioned with Michael when we spoke, but, you know, for over here, the route or the road to wanting to become a professional cyclist as a young person is actually quite clear. You know, there's the structure in place, and there's the evidence of it before. You know, we see a pro peloton that's filled with British people, not filled, but, you know, it has a, you know, the last sort of 20 years, there's been a lot more than there has been previously. So the road to that is quite straightforward. But it's just that, I suppose it's the same thing over here. There's opportunity to kind of do anything. But we're not just talking about, in Masaka, the opportunity for just for one person to potentially get a pro contract. We're talking about what that does as like a paradigm shift for the mentality of what is possible for people in that region. That's the area that I think we cannot overlook, where it's not just about, so-and-so's got a pro contract, good for them. There's that paradigm shift of, wow, something can happen that happened here, that hasn't happened before. If someone from, let's say, our cafe, for example, gets a pro contract, that's not unfamiliar. We understand that because that can very much easily happen. Whereas someone over there, as part of Masaka Cycling Club, gets a pro contract, that's a paradigm shift that is a cataclysmic, sort of like shift in people's thinking and mentality. That is, is that correct? Am I wrong in thinking that?
No, mate, you're spot on. And, it's that breakthrough moment, God forbid if it ever happens. And I take you back to the Kenyan situation with the Kenyan athletics. It took one breakthrough moment and it's created, a whole culture, I believe, for Kenyan athletes. So if we in our lifetime, we're fortunate enough to see that breakthrough moment come for southern Uganda at Masaka Cycling Club, and that person, returns to that region, then all of a sudden the kids start believing, well, this can happen. It has happened. It is actually something that is believable. So, and then hopefully, in decades to come, it'll become the Kenyan athletic story, and everyone's banging down the door of East African cyclists, wanting them in their team, and it's starting to happen in places like Colombia, for example, in cycling. You're starting to see more and more of riders from that region coming into
absolutely.
the peloton. So why can't it happen in East Africa?
Proven. Absolutely right. Yeah, it's exciting.